California Congressman Khanna on all of this. Congressman, whatever your views on this, isn't this potentially a slippery slope here? If Republicans were upset, let's say, with a liberal-leaning court and some of the decisions it made, it might ponder the same type of changes. What do you think?
Neil, I had actually proposed this back in 2020 before the Dobbs decision. I think it would depoliticize the court. Every president would get 2 appointments in their term. Term limits is something I've supported for House and Senate members. We have term limits for the president. Why not have term limits for Supreme Court justices? The founders never intended people to be on these courts for 20, 30 years.
Okay, but the term limits is one thing. He wants, to look at decisions and essentially reverse them, including this one, a constitutional amendment saying the presidents don't have criminal immunity. Of course, the Supreme Court decision wasn't that black and white. The reason why I raise it, Congressman, is that when you now delve into decisions and then trying to reverse them by way of laws that will overrule them, that is an even slippier slope, right?
Well, that's the history of our country, right? That's what the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment did. It overturned Dred Scott.
But this is part of revamping the entire court.
Well, I think the term limits, which I think are common sense, would depoliticize the court. But I think it's common sense also to say that there should be criminal liability if a president does something egregious. Let me give you an example. If someone says to me, I'm going to give you $1 million if you go vote a certain way, if I did that, I would get tried for bribery. Why shouldn't the president have the same liability if the president takes an official act but is getting money to do that? I mean, there are clearly egregious cases where there should be criminal liability.
All right, I guess we can go back and forth on this, Congressman. But I did want to get your thoughts on Kamala Harris. She's raising an awful lot of money, better than $200 million. We're told much of it from the Silicon Valley community. That is your community as well. What do you read into that? Obviously, when you give a lot of money, you expect a lot back. What do you think Silicon Valley wants from her?
Well, she has momentum, but I think she needs to be very careful to still be pro-tariffs. I mean, I think it would be a mistake to repeal some of the tariffs to protect steel, to protect aluminum, to protect industry in this country. And she needs to make sure that we have a sensible antitrust policy, and needs to be clear that Lina Khan, that she has confidence in her and isn't going to not appoint her because of some interests of donors. And so this is a crucial moment where, especially on economic policy of industrialization, Vice President Harris needs to stand with those who believe we need to make things in America.
So tariffs to shield industries in this country, okay. What about tariffs to prevent the Chinese from hurting industries in this country like Donald Trump wants to do, or not? Well,
I support strategic tariffs on China from dumping things into the United States. I serve on the China Select Committee. It's an area where President Biden actually has followed some of former President Trump's tariffs. We've kept them on steel and increased them, kept them on aluminum, kept them on Chinese goods being dumped into the United States like electric vehicles. And I think the Vice President should be very clear that she's going to support those kind of strategic tariffs and not allow what happened for 40 years, the hollowing out of our industry because other countries were dumping cheap goods into the United States.
How do you feel about the switch that was made, Congressman? I haven't had the pleasure of talking to you post this swapping out Joe Biden for Kamala Harris. It was fast. It was orchestrated very, very quickly. Some say it was a cabal and a conspiracy. Every rule seemed to be followed that were out there for this unprecedented move. So I'm not here to criticize it. I am here to wonder about the fallout, how Democrats look disloyal, how they look like, boy, you have one bad poll, one bad debate, even though that was an awful debate, and you can be out on your hiney real quickly. Do you worry about the precedent that was set here and how it makes Democrats look?
Well, I was out there defending President Biden until the last day. In fact, I think I was on TV on Sunday afternoon. And the press release came out that he wasn't running. I didn't like the way it was done. I think a person who has had 50 years of public service should have had that opportunity to make a decision on their own, and he had won the votes. But the reality is now we're looking forward, and there's no denying that Vice President Harris has a lot of momentum. There's no denying that she's closer in the polls, and she has had acclamation. I mean, the reason there wasn't competition is that everyone supported her. She was very, very adept at coalescing support support and will earn the rights of delegates. So I think it's going to be a closer race, but I do think that the way President Biden was pushed is not something that I particularly condoned of.
All right, Congressman, great catching up with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.